कृतैषा विधवा लङ्का वयं च कुलनन्दन देहकृतोऽन्नं गृध्राणाम् आत्मा नरकहेतवे। Krita, made by you, Esha, all of this, Vidava, without a protector, Lanka, the state of Lanka, Vayamcha, and us, Kulanandana, O pleasure of the Rakshasas, Dehaha, the body, Kritaha, made by you, Annam, eatable, Gridhrana, of the vultures, Atma, and your soul, Narakahetave, for going to hell. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Bhaisaranaramita Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. O pleasure of the Rakshasa dynasty, because of you, the state of Lanka and also we ourselves now have no protector. By your deeds, you have made your body fit to be eaten by vultures and your soul fit to go to hell. Kindly repeat the translation. O pleasure of the Rakshasa dynasty, because of you, the state of Lanka and also we ourselves now have no protector. By your deeds, you have made your body fit to be eaten by vultures and your soul fit to go to hell. Purport. One who follows the path of Ravana is condemned in two ways. His body is fit to be eaten by dogs and vultures, and the soul goes to hell. As stated by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 16.19, Tanaham Tvishata Kruran Samsareshu Naradhaman Shipami Ajasrama Shubhan Asureshveva Yonishu. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, are cast by me into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. Thus the destination of godless atheists such as Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, Kamsa, and Dantavakra is a hellish condition of life. Mandodari, the wife of Ravana, could understand all this because she was a chaste woman. Although lamenting for the death of her husband, she knew what would happen to his body and soul. For although one cannot see directly with one's material eyes, one can see with the eyes of knowledge. Pashyanti jnana chakshushaha. In Vedic history, there are many instances of how one becomes godless and is condemned by the laws of nature. Thus ends the Bhakti purport and translation to Canto 9, Chapter 10, text number 28 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So this verse is spoken by uh, the wife of Ravana, Mandodari. So she is lamenting that now the state of Lanka and herself and all the other wives of Ravana and the citizens of Lanka have no protector, because Ravana is being killed by Lord Ramachandra. And she is saying that because of Ravana's own deeds, now the destination which he is heading towards is very miserable and pitiable. He was raised to such a glorious position as the ruler of Lanka, but unfortunately, because of his uh, wrong deeds, now after his death or passing away from this world, his body is fit to be eaten by vultures and dogs, and his soul is fit to go to hell. We can just imagine, from such a glorious position, he had made such a big downfall by his wrong actions. The exact opposite position he is reaching now. He became the prime minister of the state. Those days were referred as state. And from that position, he has glided down to a position where his body is fit to be eaten by vultures and his soul fit to go to hell. So that is why scriptures say human life is a life of responsibility, where one human life is also referred as a junction, where from the present state of human body, one can either retain the same status as becoming a human being in the next life, or one can elevate himself to a higher position as a devata with better facilities to live in this world, or one can degrade himself by losing even the facilities which one has acquired in human birth. Just to draw a parallel, as much as suppose you are working somewhere, Jai Krishna Balaram, Gaunitai, Prabhupada ki jai. So if you put in good work, you will get promotion. Or if you do at least the work which you are assigned, designated, you will retain the position. But if you don't fulfill even the very purpose of your work, you may not even retain that status. So, as we have rules in a company, in the state, similarly, in the universal management of the Lord also has made some standards, some codes, some laws. So, there is objectivity in the rulings of the Lord or the laws of nature. There is no subjectivity. Subjectivity means based on one's individual opinion. No. So, God's laws are full of objectivity. It's based on some criterions, some standard, which is equally applied upon all. So there is no partiality as such. Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshu astina priyaha. The Bhagavad Gita 9th chapter, Krishna says, Sama aham, I'm equal to all. So I neither hate anybody nor I have anybody particularly who is an object of favor. Everybody is equal to me because everybody is Krishna's children. Still, there is discrimination because everybody being the children of God has the right to live and right to work and right to enjoy the kingdom of God equally. But without trampling upon the other's rights. So in order that the one living being does not exploit the other living being, the Lord has made what is called the law of karma. So you deserve and then desire. In essence, law of karma means you deserve and then you desire. Means if you are eligible, you will get it. You are not eligible, you will not get what you desire. So coming back to this verse, Mandodari is saying that his body is fit to be eaten by dogs and vultures and his soul is fit to go to hell. So Prabhupada says in the purport, one who follows the path of Ravana is condemned in two ways. And these are the two ways explained by Mother Mandodari. One's body will be eaten by dogs and vultures and one's soul will go to hell. So both ways there are disadvantages. There is nobody to relieve them from hell. The body doesn't undergo samskara because it's eaten by dogs and vultures. And his soul is going to hell. So in the 28th chapter of the 5th canto of Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami describes about the existence of hellish planets. 26th chapter of the 5th canto. So there he says that there are 28 kinds of hellish planets. And according to some authorities, there are 21 hellish planets. Both are right. Depends on the grouping and category which he is talking about under consideration. And he says that how sinful men go to these different hells where he is punished in various ways by the assistance of Yamaraj. So it is not that everybody goes to Yamaloka. That's another misunderstanding. Everybody will not go to Yamaloka. Only sinful souls will go to Yamaloka. So Parikshit Maharaj inquires, where is the location of these hellish planets? Is it outside the regions of the universe? Or is it within the covering of the universe? Or in different places on this planet? So Shukadeva Goswami answers, the hellish planets are situated in the intermediate space called Antariksha, between the three worlds and the Garbhodaka ocean. Further he explains, the hellish planets lie on the southern side of the universe, beneath the Bhumandala region, which is our region, and slightly above the waters of the Garbhodaka ocean. So to be more precise, Shukadeva Goswami explains, these hellish planets are situated in between the Garbhodaka ocean and Patala Loka. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also endorses this explanation. So, Prabhupada explains one place, foolish people think that they are independent while they are fully under the control of the Supreme Lord. So, why people try to be independent? Why people like this idea of being independent? Today it is very popular and very famous to be independent because they can do what they like, what they want. And they want to do what they want. They like to do what they want. Therefore, they have embraced this idea of independent existence. And this can give license for engaging in sinful activities. But as a result, one has to suffer hellish condition, life after life. Prabhupada says one very important point. The basic principle of suffering is what? What is the basic principle of suffering? Huh? No. Basic principle of suffering is, huh? I am this body. Okay. So the basic principle of suffering is a foolish living entity thinks he is independent, although he is strictly under the control of the laws of nature. So from this idea of independence, then only sinful activity comes into picture. Because why will you do sinful activity? Because you think you can do whatever you want and still be happy. Therefore, the fundamental disease or the fundamental reason of suffering in our life is our independent nature. I want to be independent, not dependent. So this is very prominent in Kali Yuga, especially. So we will try to understand this little later. Ravana's charge sheet are as follows, according to Yamaraja and Yamadutas. Like, you do some wrong activities, they make one charge sheet. And they'll add some, maybe you have done theft, maybe you have done murder. But then something they keep adding also. So many sections, section 302, section 407, section 506A, subclause 2. So they keep on adding like that. So I just analyzed something from reading the 5th canto. So I have identified about 4 charge sheets on Ravana. As per my analysis, maybe more also. The first charge sheet against Ravana is very technical and very objective, nothing personal. Is these are all taken from Bhagavatam, from our law book. Just like police has, they got IPC code. Similarly, we have our Bhagavatam codes or Dharma Shastras, Manu Samhita. There are 20 books of Dharma Shastra, and there is Manu Samhita. Then there is Bhagavatam. There is Garuda Purana. So these are our codes, our references. So the first charge sheet against Ravana is this: a man who tricks someone and enjoys his wife is put into extreme hellish condition known as Andatamisra. And there is reasoning, just like when the judge writes a judgment, he'll give all the sections, all the explanations justifying his decision, right? So here also, Shukadeva Goswami is very, very technical and a perfect judge. How is perfect judge? Toward the end, we will understand very technically. Now, a man who tricks someone, you take the pastime of Ramayana. Yes, he tricked Lord Ramachandra by sending Marichi in the form of a golden deer and sending for hunting the deer. So he tricked Lord Rama. So a man who tricks someone and enjoys his wife to enjoy Mother Sita, he tricked Rama and sent him out of the cottage to hunt for the golden deer so that he can enjoy Mother Sita. So this is the charge. So he is put into Andatamisra. So what happens in Andatamisra? The position of a person in Andatamisra, hellish planet, is something like that of a tree being cut off from its root. And Shukadeva Goswami explains, even before reaching Andatamisra from Sri Lanka, he will be subjected to extreme kind of miseries. See, there is positivity in life, there is negativity in life. Just like you go to class restaurants. Before they serve the meal, they'll give you what is called as starters. So you know that. Or they'll give you what is called as appetizers. Mainly soup. And some more salads and vegetables are there, which will increase your appetite to eat more. So soups are very good in that regard. It will increase your appetite. So they're called starters, and some more items are there called starters. Then they give the regular course of meal. Again, there's a whole sequence. So like that here also you can see that is a positive thing, right? You can eat nicely. And see the other side of it. It's a sample punishment before you reach. You go to a sweet shop. You're not tasted one particular sweet. So the sweet shop will have a counter having kgs of sweets inside the counter, glass counter. And at the top some plate will be there. All samples of 2, 3 pieces will be there. So you go to a sweet shop and then, so if you say, what is this? Then he'll say that item is some item which you've not heard about, you've not tasted. Maybe a Bengali delicacy, maybe a Kerala delicacy, you've not tasted. So he'll give you one sample. How does it taste? So you can eat little small piece. Then you get attracted. You like that? Okay, then pack half kg, pack 1 kg. So I'll give you a sample, right? Little to taste. They'll not give a full piece to taste. They'll not give you half kg to taste. Give you a sample. You like it? Take more. The positive side I'm saying. So like that, here also, first, before you take the whole suffering, all through the way you are suffering, here and there, and then you go to the actual Untitled planet, full course is served to you. So full course is served to you. So what is that? The afflictions imposed for the sinful person with a particular charge sheet in Untitled is such that he loses his intelligence and sight. That is why great sages have termed this hell as Andhatamisra. Andha means blindness. So you lose sight, you lose intelligence. There are two ways where your knowledge is, a person in knowledge is understood. One is by seeing and observing, gathering knowledge. One more is through intelligence. So he loses sight and intelligence. For this reason, learned sages call this hell Andhatamisra. The first charge sheet. Second charge sheet. One who does not follow scriptural injunctions and does everything whimsically. He is, or he follows some unauthorized person, one who is not an authority. Because Prabhupada used the word rascal in the purport. This is what Shukadeva Goswami has used. So one who does not follow Shastra Vidhi and who does everything whimsically. No, I feel I will do. I don't feel I will not do. I don't like, I will not do. I like, I will do. As per his choice or following some unauthorized person. Then he is put into a hell known as Asi Patravana. So what happens here in Asi Patravana? So Prabhupada explains in the purport. If one deviates from the path of the Vedas, in the absence of an emergency, then such a soul is sent to Asi Patravana, where they beat him up with whips, number one. And to avoid being whipped means being beaten. To avoid being whipped, he runs hither and thither, fleeing from extreme pain. And he tries to go to the corners. Shukadeva Goswami describes towards the end, because he cannot escape actually. On all sides, he runs into palm trees with leaves like sharpened arrows. Just imagine the description. So he tries to escape, but finally he'll land up towards the end into some palm trees which has leaves like sharpened arrows, and your body gets pierced So all over his body there is injury, and therefore he faints at every step, and he cries out, "Is there anybody to save me? Anybody to help me? What should I do now?" So this is how one suffers, one deviates from Shastra Vidhi or accepted religious principles. So in the purport, Prabhupada says, there is only one religious principle, dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. The to follow the orders of the Supreme Lord. There is only one religion, one dharma. There is only one dharma. Unfortunately, in Kali Yuga, everyone has become an atheist, and people do not believe in God. Practically, almost everybody has become an atheist, and they don't believe in God. And what you speak of following His words is an important point. People don't believe God, then why will we believe God's words, God's direction for a happy life? So the word used is called Nija Veda Patha. Patha means path. Nija Veda Patha. There's only one path. There's a path of God for happy living. So formerly there was only one Veda Patha or set of religious principles. Now there are many. So Prabhupada says it doesn't matter which set of religious principles one follows. The only injunction is that he must follow them strictly. So therefore, even if you profess to be a Christian, Muslim, Hindu, or some other religion, it does not matter. But you must follow some religious principle. At least you must follow some religious principle. However, if one concocts his own religious path within his mind and follows no religious principles at all, he is sent to the hell known as Asipatravana. So Prabhupada is lamenting here, as Kali Yuga advances, people are becoming godless and taking up so-called secularism. They do not know the punishment awaiting them in Asipatravana, as described in this verse of Bhagavatam, text 15, chapter 26, canto 5. So to follow some kind of religious principle is always good. It may be high, it may be low, that does not matter. But at least one must follow some religious principle in one's life to avoid going to hell. And the best religious principle is Bhagavat Dharma. Savai pumsam paro dharma. Yato bhakti radokshite. Para dharma. If you want to follow the highest religious principle, then that is following directly the orders of God as revealed in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Then the third charge sheet against Ravana is a person who gives trouble to others is put into a hell known as Danda Shuka. So you can see Ravana has committed this wrong act also to put others into trouble. How many people were put into trouble because of Ravana? The peak of all that was capturing Mother Sita. He has put Mother Sita in trouble, he has put Lord Rama in trouble, he has put Hanuman in anxiety, he has put Lakshmana into anxiety, he has put Mandodari into anxiety, his own wife and his other wives. He has put the citizens of Lanka into anxiety. He has brought about the ruination of the entire Lanka, not just one. He has brought about the trouble. He has brought in trouble for so many people, so many jivas. So how can he be happy? By putting others in trouble. So that is not fair. So therefore he is put into a hell known as Danda Shuka. The fourth charge sheet is Prabhupada says God has given human beings advanced consciousness. And what is this advanced consciousness to be used for? Very fine point Prabhupada says. Actually, this is the heart of a Vaishnava. He can feel the suffering and happiness of other living beings. This is the advanced consciousness of a human being. To feel the happiness and suffering of the other jivas. But the human being who is bereft of his conscience, however, is prone to cause suffering for the other living beings. So somebody is not very sensitive, careless, then he doesn't care for others' suffering and others' happiness. So the assistants of Yamaraj put such a person into hell known as Andhakupa, where he receives proper punishment from his victims. So like this, there is a lot of description. So as we discussed earlier, somebody uh, may not be sensitive in observing all these uh, details, but actually there are authorities who are observing all these actions of the individual jivas. So, in human life, one has to be very careful in executing one's activity through thoughts, words, deeds, through body, mind, and words. Because human life is considered to be a very responsible life, and therefore God has given a lot of freedom. So, a lot of freedom also brings in a lot of responsibility. It is not that we have freedom and therefore we can do anything, we can speak anything, we can do anything. So freedom brings in a lot of responsibility. But if by the misuse of the freedom, then one ends up uh, in a bad situation. One messes up his life. Therefore, there is a constant guidance required. So Krishna describes this in the Bhagavad Gita 4th chapter, verse number 17. Karmano hi api bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha, akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi. Actually, Krishna says that one should know what is karmano hi api bodhavyam. One should know about what duty one must perform. What is action? Karmanaha. Vikarmanascha bodhavyam. One should also know what is inaction, which one should avoid, actions which one should avoid, actions which one should accept. Both one should know. And akarmanascha bodhavyam. One should also know what is transcendental action. Gahana karmano gatihi. So these are all very confidential, and Krishna says to Arjuna that I will explain it myself to you, knowing which moksha se ashubhat. You can be free from all inauspiciousness. So the intricacies of action and inaction, action, sinful action, prohibited action, it's very difficult to understand. Krishna says, I will explain it myself so that you can understand and become free from all inauspiciousness in your life. So that is why Bhagavad Gita becomes very important. Bhagavatam becomes very important. Gives us direction in our life in every aspect, material and spiritual. The Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says, once you learn this art of performing karma the way the Lord desires, not the way I want, the way the Lord desires. If there is genuine innocence or ignorance about the standard of work, that is excused, but not intentional. So I may not know how to do a certain work, that is accepted. So we can take guidance, but not intentionally we avoid doing that work to the required standard. Suppose we should do our best. Swakarmana tam abhyarcha siddhim viddati manava. In the 18th chapter of Krishna says, by performing one's own work, one can attain perfection. And Krishna says, please hear from me. So that's the whole Bhagavad Gita. Krishna explains the different karmas how to perform in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of the Lord. The criterion is whether the Lord is satisfied ultimately with our performance of action. So as regards this nature of being independent or thinking we are independent, there is no control. It is not true. Narada Muni explains Yudhishthira Maharaj when Dhritarashtra, Vidura and Gandhari left the palace one fine night, even without informing Sanjaya. Prabhupada explains that Dhritarashtra would not do anything without consulting Sanjaya. That means Sanjaya knew everything, every action and move of Dhritarashtra. But when Dhritarashtra left the palace, he didn't inform Sanjaya. So Prabhupada said that means it was so confidential that his leaving the palace could not be disclosed even to Sanjaya. This was after the Mahabharata war. He just leaves and goes to the forest to purify himself as per the advice of Vidura. So that time Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was very much panicking. Where did my uncles go? Where did my auntie go? In this old age. And when they're shelterless, their sons are not there. Imagine how kind and considerate and compassionate Yudhishthira Maharaj is. First of all, his sons, including Dhritarashtra, had made so many plans, contrived so many plans to usurp Yudhishthira's position. And finally, by Krishna's grace, Yudhishthira could reclaim the kingdom. But even after all of that, still he is taking care of Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. How kind he is, how compassionate and how magnanimous he is. We can just imagine the extent. He is giving shelter to an enemy practically, who has constantly been planning to kill him, kill the Pandavas, and usurp their property, exploit to the maximum extent possible. And still Yudhishthira Maharaj is thinking of the highest good to Dhritarashtra and his family members. This is the heart of a Vaishnava. That's why Yudhishthira Maharaj being described as Ajata Shatru, for one for whom no enemy is born. So, Narada Muni is telling Yudhishthira at that time when Yudhishthira was lamenting, what happened to my uncles? Where did they go? That time Narada Muni said, don't worry. Everybody is being taken care by the Lord and the Lord's arrangement called the laws of nature. You don't have to unnecessarily lament where they have gone. Everybody will be put in the right position by the Lord, whether good or bad, happy or suffering, rich or poor. They will get their due. You don't worry. And Narada Muni gave an example here. As a cow bound through the nose by a long rope is conditioned, so also human beings are bound by different Vedic injunctions and are conditioned to obey the orders of the Supreme. So just like cow is bound by a long rope, sometimes we tie the cow to a pole through a rope. So the cow cannot go beyond it. It has to follow and be within the length of the rope. Similarly, everybody is bound by the laws of God. And they're they ought to obey. There is no choice. And Prabhupada says, man-made laws may be evaded by cunning outlaws. But in the courts of the supreme lawmaker, there is not the slightest possibility of neglecting the laws. That means even if he wants to neglect or escape, actually he cannot escape. He cannot escape. Just like a person in the prison, if he wants to escape, he cannot escape. Where will he come? He'll come out of the prison house. Outside the prison house also is the government's land only. Prison is also government's land. Outside the prison is government's land. Again, you'll be caught and put back. And either you follow the law of the government within the prison house or outside the prison house in the city. So you cannot escape or avoid following the government's law. You want to be an outlaw declaring independence. I will not care for the government's law, traffic law, police law, etc. But you will be forced to follow in the prison house or by the court orders. It's like that one has to obey the Supreme Lord. There is no escape. Prabhupada says another significant point. The secular state or the godless state allows one to break the laws of God, but they are strict in following man-made laws or secular laws. See the hypocrisy. The secular state restricts them from disobeying the laws of state, but they allow the citizens to break the laws of God. The result is that, Prabhupada says, people in general suffer more by breaking the laws of God than by obeying the imperfect laws made by man. See, this is interesting thing. People in general suffer more by breaking the laws of God than by obeying the imperfect laws made by man. If somebody asks, why should I follow God's law? The Prabhupada says, every man is imperfect. Therefore, any legislation he brings about must be imperfect. Cannot be perfect. On the other hand, there is no such imperfection in the laws of God. So in conclusion, Prabhupada says there is no need for imperfect man-made law or legislations needed. The leaders have to be educated about the laws of God, and there is no need of a makeshift legislative council of aimless men. The codes of religion are made either by God or by the perfect representatives of God, the liberated souls. Therefore, there is no need of changing legislation. One need only to carry out the laws already given by God. And finally, one last point. Prithu Maharaj, he is expressing his concern about his father being godless and atheistic and disobeying the Lord and declaring supremacy. So, this is in that context. So, Prabhupada explains, atheists are of the opinion that there is no need to accept authority of the Supreme Lord to be successful in Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. According to them, Dharma means, it is a means which is established just to bring in morality and honesty in human being. For which purpose one imaginary God is being proposed, to encourage people to become moral, honest and just, so that the social orders may be maintained in peace and tranquility. So for this purpose, the atheists say, there is no need to accept God. If one follows morality and honesty, then why should you accept God? For the sake of accepting God, for the sake of following morality and honesty, you are bringing in the picture of God. But you can follow without God. So there is no need of God. Eliminate God. Similarly, that is the Dharma principle, how to avoid Dharma. You just follow Dharma directly. You don't require God to assist for you to follow the principles of morality and honesty. Then, as far as Artha, economic development is concerned, if one makes nice plans and works very hard for economic development, automatically there is result of economic development, so you don't have to follow the procedure of Artha as per Dharma. These are all evading the laws of Dharma. Then, similarly, sense gratification also does not depend on the mercy of the Lord. If one earns enough money, one can fulfill all one's desires. So you don't require Dharma again or God again. And insofar liberation is concerned, they say there is no need to talk of liberation because everything is finished after death. So Prithu Maharaj, however, did not accept the authority of such atheists headed by his father. So Prabhupada makes one significant point here. A person who is always subjected to rules and regulations of repeated birth and death cannot accommodate anything beyond materialistic ideas. So in counter to this, Prabhupada gives 4 arguments why you should follow the principle of Dharma for the above 4 arguments of the atheists. If one does not accept the authority of the Supreme Lord in the matter of religion, then one must explain why 2 persons of the same moral standard achieve different results? Number one, because we see that even two men following the same moral standards of ethics, honesty, morality, their positions are not the same. The first counter for not following dharma. Then second, for artha. In economic development also it is seen, two men work very hard day and night, still the results are not the same. So what is the explanation? If you say simply by working hard, you will get economic development. But then everybody is not getting the same result of the work. So one is very rich and the other person does not even have two sufficient meals a day. The third argument of sense gratification. You have money, you can enjoy. So Prabhupada is countering that. Similarly, in the matter of sense gratification, sometimes one who has sufficient food still not happy in family affairs, or sometimes is not even married, not getting a good girl, not getting a good boy for marriage. Whereas another person, even though not economically well off, has the greatest opportunity for sense gratification. So how do you justify this? Furthermore, sometimes we see animals have better opportunity for sense gratification than human being. So this is the third argument. Then the last one, aside from liberation, even if we consider only the preliminary necessities of life, dharma, artha, kama, we will see they are not the same for everyone. Therefore, it must be accepted that there is someone who determines the different standards. In conclusion, not only for liberation must one depend on the Lord, even for ordinary necessities in this material world, one must depend on the Lord. So, in this way, human life is a responsible life of action, and acting irresponsibly leads to disaster. And that's what we see in Ravana's life. Even though he was elevated to a very nice position, but because of his misdeeds, he lost all the glorious position. Stop here, Granthrat Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai.